is the cost of suppressing our emotions for diverse organizations? Engaging with difference is a core condition for operating in multicultural systems. When we engage with others who have a different worldview, our horizons broaden, it's easier to adapt to new contexts, and we have less stereotypes and we discriminate less against each other. However, when this connection is lost, when the connection with a different other is hindered, we lose all the possible advantages that diversity can bring. So together with my colleagues Lore van Gorp and Michael Boiger, we try to look into this question. What prevents multicultural groups from reaping the true benefits their diversity should bring? And we approached it from an emotional processing perspective. Now, we all know that when we deal with diversity, when we have to engage with difference, this is a source of intense emotions. Diversity brings about tensions, it brings about discomfort, it brings about frustration. How do we usually deal with it in organizations? We don't. We just suppress it. On the one hand, because it's difficult and we don't know how to, and on the other, because there is this preconceived notion that emotions do not belong in the workplace. We should keep a stiff upper lip attitude, that we should just bottle it down and carry on with pre-given templates of behavior, act professionally. However, research shows that there are very high costs that we pay for suppressing our emotions, both as an individual and as organizations. The damage that emotion suppression does to individuals is expressed both at the emotional level, because they create further depression and anxiety, and also, and this is the most important probably, at physical level. Habitual emotion suppression correlates with high blood pressure, high cholesterol levels, diabetes, and there's some research that make the link also with cancer. For organizations, it means higher rates of turnover, less job satisfaction from employees, but also it means that employees reach out less to each other to ask for help, for advice, and for new information when they are faced with a problem they cannot solve. So in our research, we focused on this question: how does habitual emotion suppression impact the patterns of asking for help and for advice in organizations? And what role does the cultural background that we have play into this? And what we discovered was that individualistic cultures suffer from a double whammy. On the one hand, unlike collectivistic cultures, people coming from an individualistic culture tend to reach out for less others for help and for advice when they're suppressing emotions. So the more you suppress, the more you will shut down, and you will ask for less advice, less input, less help. Both people from individualistic and collectivistic cultures, when they do suppress, they ask for advice from people who are similar to them. So individualists will ask other individualists, collectivists, other collectivists. What does it mean in the workplace? It means that it makes it more difficult for immigrants to adapt, for expats to adapt. It makes it that we stick in our little cliques. We stick together with people who have a similar worldview. And it makes it more difficult to bring about innovation because new ways of thinking are avoided. We don't want to interact with people who think differently than us. When we suppress our emotions, we just want people to confirm our worldviews. So what can we do about it in organizations? In order to create more openness for diversity, the first step we all need to do is work with emotions. My emotions, your emotions, and ours. Acknowledge them, understand them, and work with them. Does this mean that everyone's going to go about in the workplace just showing whatever emotions they have? No, this is not what I'm referring to. What I'm talking about is, instead of reacting, that we act intentionally, we interact with each other from a place of intention, with awareness of what's going on, with reciprocal understanding, and capitalizing on intentional communication. So how do we build awareness? Awareness means apply the skill that you have in recognizing the emotions of your best friend a bit more often than you currently do. Pay attention to the nonverbal language of your colleagues, of the interlocutor that you have in a conversation. What does it mean? What does it show you? Pay attention to your own body. What signals is it trying to tell you about the emotions you're having at a certain point? Pay attention to the atmosphere in your team. Sometimes all it takes is asking yourself the question, what is going on right now? This is enough to create awareness. How do we build more reciprocal understanding? We build that by using the rule of 3. When we act on automatic pilot, we interpret people's behaviors according to our own schemas. So this will always be the first interpretation. Push your brain further. Ask the question, what is an alternative interpretation for what I see right now? The second interpretation will be either a mild stereotype or something that is not very strong, but there will be a second possible interpretation. The magic comes when you ask it the third time. Cognitive complexity kicks in then. When we try to find 3 alternative interpretations for an action that we see, for understanding an action that we see, this is when we really are able to practice reciprocal understanding. This is when we get new perspectives. So this is when we broaden the horizon. This is how you build into your relationships more reciprocal understanding. And finally, how do we build more intentional communication? By asking yourself, before you open your mouth, what is it that I'm trying to achieve in this communication? What is the goal that I'm aiming towards? And then think about what you're just about to say. Are the words that you chose, is the phrase that you chose useful to vent your emotions? Or is it taking you a step closer to the goal that you have in that communication? Be intentional in your communication. Build towards the goal that you have. Think about the connotation of your words. Think about the formulations that you use. And please do remember that while sticks and stones may break your bones, unlike popular wisdom says, words can and will hurt relationships.